Well, hello and welcome back to our workshop, where today we are joined by Richard Proudman from Bachmann to have a look back on what's happened during 2024 with its massive lineup of new releases, cover some of the in-development projects, and look at some new tooling announcements as well. So Richard, it's been a phenomenally busy year for Bachmann, hasn't it?
Certainly has, Mike. Thanks for having us again. Great to be back in the workshop. During 2024, we had no fewer than 20 brand new tooling projects revealed to the world, a lot of which we've got in front of us here today, and many are already available from Bachmann stockists.
Yeah, that's across all the different Bachmann ranges, isn't it, as well? Because it's not like you're just doing one scale, you've got multiple scales you work across.
That's right, yeah. We've got the N scale models from Graham Farish and EFE Rail, 00 from Bachmann Branch Line and EFE Rail as well. We launched the brand new NG7 Bachmann narrow gauge range of 7mm narrow gauge models, and we've had new additions for our 009 scale range from Bachmann narrow gauge too.
Indeed, lots of lovely things. So should we start at the smaller end of the scales and have a chat about the N-gauge side? So yeah, we've got some real exciting new arrivals this year.
Yeah, certainly. So the start of last year we went with the dancehall brake bands. We had the anchor mounted tank wagons that came shortly after, and the AMS twins. And those three projects have all been completed and delivered and been in the shops for many months now. So these are available. The dancehall in 4 different liveries, the anchor mounts in 6 livery options with alternative running numbers, and the twins have flown out. The original black and silver models, some of them have been and gone already. We've got green versions as well, covering the whole story of the AMS twins through their life.
Yeah, and I was personally quite amazed to see 10,000, 10,001 done in N-gauge. It's the kind of thing I never thought would be available at that scale.
Yeah, it's an iconic machine, one of the first diesels to run on the British network, of course. Very pretty in its black and silver colour scheme, and its green colour schemes actually, and something that a lot of N scale models have gone for and embraced and added to their collection.
Yeah, I mean, what was it that actually inspired you to do that in N-gauge? Obviously you did it in double N-gauge. That doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work though, does it, in a smaller scale?
No, it's something you've got to take a bit of a gut feel on sometimes. It's a very pretty thing, it's iconic. We had obviously a lot of research from the 00 scale project, and it's a sort of flagship model for the flagship brand.
Yeah, absolutely. And then most recently, you've got another unexpected N-gauge loco as well in terms of the D600 warships as well.
That's right, yeah. So towards the end of the year, we had at the N-gauge show the D600 warships and the Molten POT coaches revealed as well. The warship comes from our EFE Rail range, and that's built on the back of the award-winning 00 scale model. It was developed by Kerno, and that's available now, and that's in the shops too. And then the POT is going to be coming out in the next few months. We've just received the production samples of those, so they'll be checked and signed off, and then shipping will commence. So in the next 2 or 3 months, we should see them in the shops.
Yeah, and that'll go really nicely with the CPO van you do as well, won't it?
Yeah, exactly. It gives a wider range of postal vehicles for N, which people can now build up a more representative rake of postal vehicles. Travelling post office seems to capture the imagination of people.
But it is one of those, we have used the word iconic, I think, sometimes in general around model railways, but the travelling post office, that phenomenal poem from back in the day, it's all got, night mail, it conjures up romances of steam era travelling post office.
Yeah, and Royal Mail is something everyone's familiar with when using it in our day-to-day lives. So bringing that and the love of railways, it's 2 things that are very much cherished by British people into one. And obviously we've had the V2 as well, and the V2.
Yeah, which again is quite an exciting addition, because I remember the first V2, which actually started out Graham Farish's life pretty much with Bachmann back in about 2000, I think it was.
Yeah, finally hit the shelves in 2004, in development for a few years, and that's now by the by, and we've started totally from scratch.
Yeah, absolutely.
Done a brand new 00 scale model a few years ago, so that's set the basis. And the N scale model we're looking to have in the shops around the middle of the year. Yeah. We had hoped to be a bit sooner, but we just got a few little niggling issues when we got the production samples that we weren't happy with. We're not going to release something that we're not fully happy with at the time of release. If we know there's a problem, we'll make sure it's corrected.
Yeah, and like you said as well, critically with that, actually, that this doesn't have any connection with the early 2000s.
No, not at all.
It's a totally brand new.
Apart from being based on the same prototype.
Yes, exactly.
That's where it ends. That's where similarities stop. So,
and even just glancing at it here, I mean, the level of detail on that for an N-gauge model was just incredible. Yeah,
it's something I'll be having a few of for my own collections, and gives me a bit more time to save up, doesn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. Because it'll fit in very well with all your great central theme collection. So
so that will be in the shops by mid-year. We're expecting. As you can see, the work's pretty much done. We just got a little bit of work going on at the factory to make sure everyone's happy with what we deliver. And that's N scale so far, but we have got more items in the pipeline, and more to come in in 2025.
Yes. Yeah, excellent. Well, we look forward to hearing more about what you're doing in Engage and to seeing the V2 come out as well, and the BOT for that matter. But that V2 is looking really quite special. So.
Yeah, it's a real flagship model for the Graham Farris range, I think.
Yeah. Super. So moving on to narrow gauge locomotives then, and rolling stock for that matter. It's been another busy year with lots of interesting and different projects coming through, and particularly these Festiniog coaches.
Yeah, so for the 009 range, we had earlier in the year the Bagley Drury diesel locomotives, our first 009 diesel, hit the shelves, and that's gone down really well. Very small little locomotive, but we were able to get the next 18 DCC in there. Looking at sound provision for future releases as well, see if we can squeeze that in, because that's something that people have come to expect from a lot of our 009 models.
Yeah, I guess part of that as well is actually that technology for model sound is always developing anyway, isn't it? Yeah, actually.
Yeah.
And the motors, I guess, I'm guessing you can now use smaller motors than you could before as well.
Yeah, smaller motors, smaller decoders, speakers are getting smaller but still of a high quality. So it's something that I think we'll be able to achieve in the fullness of time, getting sound into that particular model.
Yes.
But they're in the shops now, along with the coaches we've got here. So we've got the Festiniog Railway tin cars.
Yep.
These were built by the Festiniog Railway in the preservation era, and have recently gone out of traffic with the Festiniog, but still found across other railways where they've found a second life.
Yep.
And then we've got the Coney roof brake van at the front there. That one's not been delivered yet. That's in transit, so in the next month or two that should be hitting the shelves. The real van was built in the 1800s. There's 3 of them.
Yep.
And in the 1920s, one was rebuilt into the brake third that we've got there.
Yep.
So it started as the same thing, but as you can see from the model, it was very much a different beast.
Yeah, so it's clearly a completely different tuning suite for that, with a completely different roof and body profile.
Yeah.
So, but it's,
the brake third still running today in the Festiniog, in the livery that we see here, and we've done a couple of other liveries. One more of a Freeland Crimson Cream, and one being the I think it's called the disco train from the 60s, 70s, which is a yellow and sort of black scheme, which is fully authentic, but probably something that people aren't so familiar with when they think of the Festiniog today.
Yeah, it's quite fascinating as well, actually, that the tin cars, actually, like you're saying, they're now out of traffic with the Festiniog. The Festiniog Railway, as a preserved railway, can now have had coaches that have come into traffic and are now too old to continue using on the same basis.
And I mean, the rate of progress there and the rate of building new coaches and new stock is never ending. So
so many years ago in a different life, I spent a day in Boston Lodge Carriage Works helping them build a coach.
Wow.
And it was absolutely amazing to see what those guys do in that workshop.
Yeah,
incredible work.
Yeah, so it's a railway that inspires a lot of our narrow gauge enthusiasts, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
And ourselves at Bachmann rule.
Well, it is, for want of a better word, the narrow gauge railway, isn't it? The Festiniog Railway. It's got fantastic locos, unusual rolling stock, amazing scenery as well. It's got everything that's going for it, isn't it? So
it certainly is.
Yeah.
Then obviously for narrow gauge, we had the Statford show last April, the launch of our NG7 range, which is a brand new range of 7mm narrow gauge models. These were available from mid-year and still available in some cases. Other items have sold out, but the wagons, some of the locomotives, we started with the Quarry Hunslet and the slate wagons. So we had the flat wagon, the basket wagon and the coal wagon, giving people a chance to model a full scene, really. With our Scenecraft models that we produced as well, we've got the slate built engine shed with the coal store and the water tower, and even a crew pack for the locomotives. Gives a whole picture for a typical quarry scene.
Yes.
Something I know you're building as a set for the magazine.
Yeah, just out of shot is our next layout project, which is in development for the narrow gauge 7mm scale stuff as well, and it's already proving to be great fun building that scale as well.
Yeah, we've obviously played around with it a lot and enjoyed it, and nice to see people embracing it and doing their own projects, adding to gauge layouts or starting from scratch. It's amazing how much you can fit in a small space. Even though it's 7mm scale, you don't need a massive amount of room, which I'm sure your project will
that's right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and you're pleased with the take-up of it so far? Yeah. With any new scale, it's going to take time for people to make plans and commit to something like that. But the response so far has given us a lot of positive optimism to move forward and expand the range further. Yeah, fantastic. And then moving on to the I guess, which is the main range of Bachmann products, which is obviously your 00 gauge collection, which is now it's split between the Bachmann branch line and EFE Rail now, isn't it?
Yeah, so the core range for Bachmann branch line, or Bachmann Europe, is the Bachmann branch line range. That's our flagship 00 range. And that's supplemented by EFE Rail, which brings together other items that will complement our branch line range. And for the EFE Rail range in 2024, we obviously had the PCV that we launched with yourselves. We've had the YOB Plastic Crane. Both of those have been released and gone down very well indeed. We've got the T3 that was announced at our Bachmann Collectors Club Members Day down at Swanage, which was obviously the perfect setting for
Indeed, yes. Yeah. So was it 2023 that came back in steam? Was it earlier this year? But it's pretty much brand new back in steam, isn't it, the T3?
Yeah.
And it's a stunning restoration again, isn't it?
Yeah, it's there was a bit of controversy around its ownership with the National Railway Museum and then being sort of donated to the Swanage Railway, which actually gave it a lot more, a lot higher profile, I think, in the press and amongst enthusiasts. Yeah. Which has helped the popularity of the rail locomotive and I'm sure the model as well. Yeah,
I mean, there's very few locomotives of that era, particularly the southern region locomotives, that are actually operational.
Yeah.
There. So it's like
so
the T9 is probably the closest thing. I think that's out of ticket.
That's right. Yeah, I think the T3 guys having created a wonderful restoration of that locomotive, they're now going to undertake the restoration of the T9 as well. So obviously they've proven their capabilities.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
turning the real thing out.
Yeah, it'd be fantastic to see the T9 running again as well.
Yeah.
So.
And now, obviously, this is a locomotive that we're at an earlier stage of development with. We've got the EP here, and the livery samples are in preparation as we speak. So in a few months' time, we should see those. And then all being well, we'll see delivery towards the end of this year.
Fantastic. And there's plenty of livery choices coming on that as well, then.
Yeah, we've got the original LSWR liveries. There seem to be quite a few different variations through the LSWR period, and we're covering some of those. And we've got the Southern Railway liveries because they did enter Southern Railway stock. And we've got different variations of boilers and such like, which we'll depict on the different models. And of course, the preserved locomotive, as people have saw it at our Members' Day and can go and see it today at the Swanage Railway. So a nice selection of models. And there's been coaches from the EFE Rail, like the LSWR cross-country sets, which are ideal to go.
You said it'd be ideal to run behind that one. Yeah. So actually, you can actually buy them literally as a box set, as they say.
That's right. Yes, a coach set. We've certainly sold out the SWR ones now, but for the Southern modeler, they're available widely in shops. You might find the SWR ones in shops, but once we announced these, we saw the last ones go very quickly.
Yes, I bet you did. Yeah,
preparing already for their future collections.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you're building a model railway. Here at TMC The Model Centre, we cater for all your modelling needs, whether that's Pico track, Woodland Scenics accessories, even DCC Concepts layout control. And as you'll see behind me, we have a very small selection of one of many different brands we stock, such as Oxford Diecast, Hornby, Bachmann, even a Curascale. Take a look at our website to see the full range of our products. And don't forget, every Friday we upload our new pre-owned listings if you'd like to save a little bit more on your layout build. Perhaps you're stuck with an aspect of railway modelling, or any other aspect of modelling for that fact. Our customer service team is just an email or a phone call away. For everything else, you can visit our website at themodelcentre.com, and if you're passing in the area near Beckhole, Whitby, pop in and see our showroom.
Moving on to the main Bachmann branch line range, and we've got there's been some really high profile locos delivered this year.
I mean 2024 was such a busy year for the branch line range with new announcements. We had the Class 30 and Class 31s, which were delivered mid-year. We had the new Class 25s, which obviously we'd teased we were doing a new 25, but quite the extent that we went to wasn't really known about until we came and revealed all for the 25 1s, 2s and 3s, and obviously with our sound fitted deluxe variants as well. Back to the 30s and 31s, that was the first model to have our auto-release coupling system, which is the DCC hands-free uncoupling, and that's going to feature on the 08s and the 09s and the Class 69s, and as we produce more new models, they'll feature as well that new system, which seems to be going down really well with the users.
And that's part of the sound-fitted deluxe version of those modern types.
Yeah, it's a pre-fitted coupling at each end, which will, part of the DCC sound project, press a function button, and end A will uncouple, press a function button for MB, and that will uncouple. And that's really added a lot of play value to our models. So it's something we're keen to introduce.
Certainly will do on the 08s. It's going to completely transform something with 10-slot couplings, isn't it?
So we've obviously had the 08s and the 09s announced at DMU last year. Brand new model. Obviously we've made 08s for a long time, but never before have you had an 08 with lights, and it's a full suite of lights. We've got the Class 09s that have got the 6 different lights for the southern region, and they're fully controllable at either end. You've got cab lights as well, and all of that's available to the DCC and the analog user.
Okay.
So I know a lot of features nowadays are sometimes restricted to DCC users, but on the 08 we've got a removable roof panel, and then there's banks of switches to allow analog users as well.
So you can actually get the switch lights over if they want.
Yeah, exactly. And there's a shunt mode as well, which typically 08s and 09s ran with a white and a red at each end, and there's one switch to activate that. So you've not got to set loads of switches to do each light. It's just shunt mode on, and typically a lot of 08s would run like that. So
I'm right in thinking as well this is going to have a stay alive in it as well.
That's right, we stay alive fitted our backup stay alive system, which gives DCC users a power reserve and stops any cutouts if you've got dirty track or loss of contact for any reason. You don't want the sound cutting out, and
especially when you're doing slow speed shunting with a short wheelbase loco, it can always be quite tricky.
That's right. So. With the sound on it particularly, you notice the sound. The locomotive might not miss a beat, but the sound will tell you that you've had a little bit of dirt on your track or something. So we've got obviously sound fitted and sound fitted deluxe versions of the 08 and 09s. That's another first for us. We've never done the sound in that shunter. You've got the lights, you've got the stay alive, and you've got the automatic auto release couplings. So,
and that's presumably your own bespoke sound profile for the 08 as well.
Yeah, all produced exclusively for the Bachmann models. And they're going to be in shops around June this year. So we've got a nice selection of models coming out, covering a wide range of eras and operators. And then we've got more already being worked on for the next tranche of it. The thing with the 08s and 09s was like 1,000 locomotives.
And 1,000 liveries pretty much.
70 odd years of operation. Hundreds of liveries. So obviously you can't ever do them all at once. But we've got another tranche progressing to cater for more.
Because you actually announced the 08s a little bit earlier than some of the other locos, haven't you, as well? There's a slight change in plans there?
Yeah, during 2024, obviously we started the British Rail announcement process in 2020, and at that time we had quite a lot of models that had been announced but still in development and being released over time. But as the years have gone by, we've got to a stage of the British Rail announcements having 150, 200 items per quarter, which is a lot of things to go through. And you can't always then give something like the 08, the 09 the full attention it deserves. So in 2024 we said let's give people all the details of new tooling projects like that at a slightly earlier stage. Gives people more time to plan their purchases and decide exactly what's right for them, and gives us more of a focus on that single project. So in June they were announced as here's the specification of the model, here's the details. And then in the following quarterly British Rail announcement, we gave you all the liveries, the item numbers, the prices, so that you can make a sort of ordering decision. And that's worked quite well, I think. Things like the Class 69, that's been announced some years ago, 2021. And people do like to see the development of the model. See the EPs, and then a lot of the time you can't see all the detail once the model's painted.
No, so actually personally I really enjoy seeing an EP because it gives me a sense of actually what as a manufacturer is actually going into the product. You can see the different material choices you make within the model as well, and I think that all helps just to I think as a consumer, because I'm as much a consumer as I am my job to be here, it's really helpful to understand what I'm actually buying, where the money goes, and what I'm purchasing.
Exactly. Once you've painted a model from a foot or two away, you might think, well, it's all moulded on. But actually, if you see the EP, you'll see that there's separate metal windscreen wipers, there's separate edge grills, all of which adds to the cost of the model and makes the fidelity what it is, but can sometimes not be as appreciated as much if you don't see it in its raw form. So we see a benefit of doing that, and we'll continue doing that as well. So new projects will be announced with grey EPs generally, and then we'll give the details in the following quarterly announcement, and then delivery will probably be sort of 3, 6, 9 months. But the main thing for us is just to be clear and transparent with people as to this is where the project's at, and we can still do that with this approach. You can say this is what you're getting, this is how much it'll be, and this is when it should be available.
You're still announcing further into the production process than when, for example, if think turn the clock back a few years, models will be announced at the point where they were either CAD drawings or even starting a research package. Actually,
exactly.
It ended up being too early, didn't it? Because you end up with too many years wait between the product being we're going to make this to actually now here it is, you can buy it.
Exactly. We've probably gone from two extremes, one extreme to another, with having something like the Class 47, 37 that were announced and in shops within sort of a month. So we're giving people a bit more time to save up, especially for new tooling projects where you can expect us to do a new livery on a Mark 1 BSK. If people are crying out for maroon Mark 1 BSKs, we'll undoubtedly do some more, and people can expect that. But the NG7 range, for example, that just came out in the blue and no one was expecting it. So it gives people time to make plans, and gives us time to share full details of the project with people.
Super. And then moving on to rolling stocks, we've got some lovely new carriages coming from Bachmann. I mean, these LNWR coaches, they're going to be a stunning addition, aren't they?
Yes, yeah. So we've got a full range of LNWR coaches on the way. They should be arriving in shops around the end of April, start of May, actually. So they're not far away at all. We've got the original LNWR liveries, and then we go on to LMS Crimson and the examples that survived on the Midland Great Northern, which were some of the last in operation. And they got about a bit as well. So there's a lot of scope there for people to add some of these exquisite models to their collection.
Definitely, and a much later development of coaches. Also got the new versions of the BR Mark 1 as well, the classic 1950s era coach.
Yes, yeah. I mean, the Mark 1's just synonymous with British Railways, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, yeah.
And we've had a wide range of coaches in the range for a good number of years, and it's very popular with modellers. And last year at your event, actually, you see we revealed the 3 new types that we're adding to the range, which is the BSO, the Brake Second Open, the First Open, and the RB Restaurant Col. And more recently, we've shared the BSOT, which was the converted BSOs that had a bay removed and the catering mini buffet put in its place. And that's applicable to the blue and grey era, which is obviously very popular at the moment. So looking forward to getting those out. The first tranche of models is going to be arriving anytime now, really. It would probably be in the shops by the time this video is watched by people. And then the blue and grey will be later in the year, around sort of August, September. And we'll have more liveries on those as well, maybe as soon as our February announcements.
Yeah, this is, again, it's a whole new tooling suite for these, isn't it? It's new bogies, new underframes.
That's right. Yeah, the new bogies, we've been able to put them onto our existing range of Martins as well. So your TSOs, your FKs, all those models that we've released in the last 12 months are going to have the new bogies on as well. But then, obviously, for a new coach, yes, we've done a Mark 1 before, but you've got new roofs, new underframes, new sides, new interiors. So it's essentially a new tooling.
And then moving on from carriages, there's also a new collection of box vans that come out this year as well. The missing link in box vans, in fact.
Yeah, something that if you go to a preserved railway, you'll almost always see one.
Yes, yeah.
The Power Van, they were not particularly successful as pallet carrying vans.
Yes, and they were quite short-lived as well, from what I remember as well.
Yeah, short-lived in that sense, but amazingly, so many survive today that you see them everywhere.
Yeah.
And these are, again, going to be in the shops anytime now, so look out for them. We've got the BR liveries to start with both the 4-shoe and the 8-shoe underframes, and then some went to Johnny Walker Whisky as well for internal use, and seen around the factory in Scotland in the green livery as we see here. So we've got those options as well. Something I've always thought has been missing from the range of rolling stock that's available. And I'm very glad that we've been able to fill that gap.
Yeah, they're one of those vans that, with my full van nerd head on, I've always liked the Power vans. They always added a little bit something different to a box van.
Yeah, so, I mean, put that next to a normal 12-ton van and it stands out straight away, didn't it? So,
absolutely,
even if you've already got a full rake of vans in your collection, adding 1 or 2 of those is going to be something quite different to set got.
Yeah, definitely indeed. That's super. And then on to the big collection of 4 diesel locos, the Class 69s, which are now at a livery sample stage.
Yeah, so as we said earlier, this is a model that has been announced for quite some time. It was 2021, essentially soon after the real locomotive project was really underway, that we announced our partnership with GBRF, that we were producing these models with an exclusive arrangement with them. And it's been one of the things that people have asked us about the most over that course of 3 years. And we've not really had a lot going on alongside the 69 in terms of things that have been announced years ago, and people are seeing the development and waiting for the next steps because of our new approach. So most things, it's right, this is what we're doing, and it's available in 6 months' time or whatever. So the 69s, we had the EPs 12 months or so ago, and developing these models has been quite a challenge because the real locomotives have been rolling off the production line at the same time.
Yes, and there's a lot of variants as well.
Yeah, another one comes out, they've changed that.
Yeah.
So a bit of moving goalposts, really. But our team have worked really close with GBRF and the Progress Rail that have been doing the works to produce what we see in front of us. And not only there's the changes during production, you've got 3 different batches of locomotives being converted. So we've had to take all that into account in the tooling of these. And there's 4 models that we've announced so far, covering the early members of the class, and then there's later versions that we'll come on to. We've just extended our agreement with GBRF, so we've now got the confidence to go ahead and do more of the range, and we'll be doing them in N-scale as well.
Oh, fantastic.
Which we announced at the time, and that's really starting to ramp up now as well. So in coming months and years, we look forward to sharing more progress on the N-scale models. But the 001s for now, we've got the delivery samples. Delivery is looking to be sort of Q3, Q4 this year. And as you can see, they're looking very nice indeed.
They certainly are. And I'm going to say, I can see they're becoming actually a really quite a collectible collection of locos, particularly when you're able to do more deliveries in the future as well. So there's not that many which are identical.
No, that's it. So. You've got a fleet of 16 locomotives, is what is planned at the minute, and they're almost there with outshopping all of those. And like you say, there's a lot of different liveries that have been applied. Some harking back to retro liveries, others with other connections that are still yet to be revealed. We've got a real nice palette of...
Indeed, and they've become much more widely travelled as well since the project was first announced. When the first 69s first went into traffic, they were all quite isolated around the southern region. Whereas now when they're operating around the Peterborough area, they're still operating on the southern region. They're also getting up to Doncaster and the north on engineering end as well. So they've got quite a wide sphere of operation now.
And as the fleet grows, there'll be more crew trained on them and more route knowledge. So I'm sure that'll grow even further. So we're looking forward to getting these out into people's hands. It's nice to be doing a model that isn't something that's been done before as well.
Indeed.
Obviously the 08, the 09 is a massive step up from anything that we've done before. Same with the Class 25, but actually to offer something that people haven't got in their collection already or haven't got to think, would I like one of those instead of what I've already got, it's a nice alternative.
And then they're like the other ones, you've got the DCC ready Sound Fit and the Sound Fit Deluxe version.
That's right. So we've got the 3 versions for each model. We've got the auto release couplings on the Sound Fit Deluxe versions. We've got the motorised roof fan as well on these, and we've got the Stay Alive built in again for DCC users. And we're actually using an enhanced speaker setup in these models. Sadly, the livery samples aren't motorised.
No, which is often the case with livery samples.
The sound project is still something that's being worked on, but once we've got that finalised, we look forward to people hearing these, because it's an aspect of our models that we're always working hard to improve and develop. And we've selected a new speaker setup for this model. There's 2 speakers, but the choice of speakers has been refined, and we look forward to people hearing them and seeing what they think.
Indeed, looking forward to hearing those. Fantastic. Well, that brings us up to speed with what you're working on so far, but we've now got some new tooling announcements.
Hi, I'm Richard from Craft Lighting, and we're here to brighten your day. We use high quality LEDs with up to 50,000 hour lifespan. The lights have a range of colour from warm white, daylight to bright sunlight. And in each setting you have up to 10 levels of brightness. With a range of lights, from magnifiers to flexible gooseneck lights to freestanding table lights, we have lights to suit all requirements. Power is supplied by a USB cable to either an adapter plug, battery pack or a computer. And our battery powered lights have a charge of up to 6 hours. For all your modelling lighting needs, visit us at some of the UK premier exhibitions or at craft-lighting.co.uk.
Well, Richard's new tooling next, and there's some really exciting new additions for the Southern Region model, aren't there?
Certainly are, Mike. We've got some new additions to start off 2025, our first new tooling announcements of the year, and we can't miss the Class 74s.
Yeah, but I'm missing Lincoln's Southern Region diesel and electric motive power, so quite an unusual loco as well, weren't they?
Yes, so this is going to be a new 00 scale model for our EFE Rail range, and the real locomotives, there was 10 of them. They were rebuilt from Class 71s, of which there was 24 built, and by the mid-1960s they were becoming redundant. 10 were put into store, and by 1967 these were being rebuilt from pure electric locomotives into the Class 74 electro diesels. So they had a diesel motor fitted, a diesel engine, The 71s had a pantograph on the roof, and that was removed, and you ended up with a sort of more conventional looking roof as we've got here. And these were built to run on lines that might have been electrified to a certain point, and then had some non-electrified lines. Typically those down to Southampton and Weymouth harbours for the boat trains.
Yep.
So they were conceived for that, but in actual fact the diesel engines weren't proven to be too reliable. So a lot of the time they were taken off and replaced with things like Class 33s at Bournemouth to go down to Weymouth. Those going to Southampton, there was less of a stretch of non-electrified lines, so they tended to get there. So they're used on boat trains. They also found use on the parcels trains, the parcels traffic, other passenger trains, goods movements on the southern region. They were inspired by the Class 73s, which have been really quite successful.
Yeah, and still are to this day. Yeah.
Today. So they've been built, and they inspired the thought, let's make some of these 71s into 74s. But even though they were rated at higher horsepower than the 73s, the reliability of the engine really didn't see them come to much, unfortunately.
Yeah. And when were they actually taken out of traffic?
So the one example lasted just over 10 years, but most didn't quite make their 10th birthday. So by the late 1970s, they'd all been withdrawn, and they were all subsequently scrapped. Yeah. They were coded HBs by the southern region to start with, and then when TOPS was introduced, they became the Class 74s. Like I said, there was 10 of them in use. They all came out of the factory in BR Blue. They're converted at Crew Works, and some variations on the livery, but we've got blue or blue on these. So whilst we haven't got the livery samples today, I'm not giving away anything too secretive.
No. So there are at least choices between the numbering of them, because when they first came out, I worked with E numbers, didn't they?
That's right, yeah. So they started as E6 101 to E6 110, and then with the TOPS numbers, they gained the 74,000 series. And there was some variations to the livery and placement of logos and such like. So there'll be a nice selection of models to kick us off here.
And the model itself then, so where did this project actually start for EFE Rail?
So it was obviously a missing link, and something we saw an opportunity to add it to the EFE Rail range. And the model itself has got clearly a highly detailed body shell. We've got the separate etched grills on either side and on the roofs. There's metal handrails fitted surrounding the cab ends and the cab doors. Underneath the body side, you've got the bogies, which are highly detailed. You've got the cab steps and the third rail collections and everything added separately there. So there's lots of detail crammed in.
And then internally, what's the specification inside them?
Yeah, so there's a cordless motor driving the model, and that's powering both bogies and both axles on each bogie. So it's all axle drive. There's all axle pickups. The axles are fitted with separate metal bearings for smooth running. You've got gearing through the bogie up to the drivetrain. There's a 21-pin DCC decoder socket, space for a speaker with connections there for the speaker ready to be put in. There's cab lighting, which is available to both analog DCC users, which is switchable in the fuel tanks underneath, for the analog user to turn that on and off, and on DCC it'll be on the function buttons. And then the illuminated blinds also operate, and there's a switch to turn off the rear blinds. So if you're hauling the train, you'd want your front blinds on, your rear ones off maybe. And on DCC, you'll have that option through the DCC functions as well.
Yep. And obviously we're at engineering sample stage at the moment, what we've got here on the layout today.
Yep.
How far away are these in terms of arriving?
So we'll be revealing the identities and the specific liveries in the February British Railway announcements in a few days' time. Yep. And then these should be in the shops by the middle of the year, really.
Fantastic. So they're making good progress.
Yeah, we've got the livery samples. They're all a bit of sort of these body shells and these different components that we've got to put together. So everything's really advanced. The factory are kicking off production now that everything's been approved in terms of liveries and those sort of specifications. There's been some improvements made since the engineering prototypes have been produced, based on feedback that we've given. So looking very nice indeed.
Indeed. It's been a good year for Southern Electric and Southern Region modellers from the EFE Rail. We started about 12 months ago. We're sat here talking about the booster electric.
Yes.
A great addition to the EFE Rail range, and now we're a year later looking at the Class 74s.
Yeah, so this will be a nice addition to the range, and it'll complement a lot of our branch line models as well. We've got the multiple units in that range. These worked with multiple units on the Southern there. And we've obviously got Bulleid coaches, Mark 1 coaches, a whole raft of stock to go behind these locomotives.
Indeed. And talking of Bulleid coaches, we can't now move on without talking about Bulleid coaches.
We certainly can. So 2 new toolings for the Bachmann branch line Bulleid coach range, Mike. We've obviously had brand new models of the Bulleids come out a few years ago, and that covered a few different coach types and diagrams. But there was one obvious omission for the die-hard southern modeler, being the diagram 2406 brake composite corridor. And there was about 40 of these built. They were built by British Railways right at the start of nationalisation in 1948. They were the last type actually built with the shallower window ventilators, the 2.25-inch window ventilators. And these, as you, I'm sure, know, and a lot of our viewers will know, Southern Railway coaches were often formed into semi-permanent sets. Whereas these BCKs were allocated as loose vehicles. So they would be used to strengthen coach sets if more capacity was needed. And the diagram 2406 was particularly used on the Atlantic Coast Express. So that left Waterloo and went down to the southwest of England. And along the way, the brake composite corridor vehicles would be dropped off at certain destinations or certain points on the route, and then transferred to their final destination, a seaside resort often. And that would be on part of the local set or coupled to a branch service or something.
Or sometimes it was even just the coach on its own, wasn't it? So it was literally would be a tender engine hauling a single Bulleid BCK. So.
And some of those formations had up to 6 of these coaches in one train. So for those trying to depict those kind of services, this is a crucial missing link, which obviously now we're very pleased to provide.
Indeed, and you're doing it both in original form and with the waistline beading on it as well.
That's right, yeah. So depending on the era, they were built with smooth sides, and then strengthening ribs were added later on. We've got both options in our tooling inventory, and there's also lots of options for detail variations. They were built generally with Bulleid pattern battery boxes and dynamos. These were later changed to BR Mark 1 style, and we've got those options. There's different arrangements of brake apparatus, from single vacuum cylinders to twin vacuum cylinders, maybe different footboard arrangements. There's even different arrangements of the handrails aside the guard doors. Similar to our existing Bulleids, we've got those kind of options there, but it just allows you to depict the coaches throughout their whole working life, really.
And being 1948 introduced vehicles, I mean, these were either presumably Carmine and cream or BR Southern Region cream during their career.
So at that time, they were still using the malachite green X-Works. So some of these would be outshot straight into the malachite green. And then later on, you've got the BR, the darker green, which BR adopted. And a few went off region as well. Certainly went to the Western region and being BR maroon. You might see that appearing in the range at some point. And they got around a bit because of their nature of being loose coaches. They were just tagged on where needed, and that famous, obviously, Atlantic Coast Express was one of their mainstays of operation.
Indeed, and then the next set of coaches have got behind, again, they're the same type of vehicle with different body side details, aren't they?
Yeah, so this is a new vehicle to the range as well. It's a diagram 2017 third open, which was later reclassified as a second open in 1956. These were built again by BR, but had the larger 15-inch window ventilators. There are a few to this diagram built with the smaller ventilators, but they were the minority. And I believe they also had the extended coach sides, and that's not something that we've covered on our Bulleids thus far. So,
there are a lot of detail variations in Bulleid coaches, aren't there?
Yeah, there certainly are. So we've gone for something that fits with our existing range and something that was the widespread build type. There's getting on for 50 of these built by this. And again, they were mainly allocated as loose coaches, so would have been used sometimes with the diagram 2406s and on their own to strengthen sets, or to be detached as a part way in the journey to go to a different onward destination. We've got the same sort of variants available with the different brake arrangements and the different patterns of gear from Bulleid to BR. And we've also got the option for the smooth body sides or with the strengthening ribs, which were added later in life. And these, again, were coaches that moved away from the southern region. Actually, quite a number. I think it was about, again, on for a dozen went to the eastern region, and a dozen went to the Scottish region or thereabouts.
Which you wouldn't think for a southern region built coach, would you?
No, but I presume BR said, well, we built them. So they're actually they're no older than Mark 1 coaches. If you need some open stock, we've got certificate in there. But the Southern were widely implementing electric units, making hauled stock redundant to some extent. So,
and I guess around that time as well, actually, BR was probably still building Mark 1s and needed more modern stock to facilitate those routes as well.
Yeah, exactly. So the Southern have a proliferation of spare stock and they put it to a good use. Again, gaining BR marine livery. So that gives us another scope to bring these models out, and we'll have all of the livery details again in the February British Railway announcements.
And those British Railway announcements, they're all coming up on February the 5th, 2025 on Bachmann's YouTube channel. We'll be able to find out full details of all the pricing and livery versions that are coming up on the new tooling items that are here today, as well as a whole host of other new items too.
That's right, Mike. Our first new products announcements for 2025. And at the same time, we'll be publishing our annual Combine Volume Catalogue, which has all the details of every Graham Farish, Bachmann Branch Line, EFE Rail and Seacraft product that's currently in stock and available from Bachmann stockists. So everything you need there to build a model railway, and we'll have all of our February British Rail announcements along with many more products on show at Model World Live at the NEC in April, and we're very proud to sponsor that event again.
It's fantastic. We're looking forward to working with you on that. Model World Live takes place on April 26th and 27th at the NEC in Birmingham, and advance tickets are on sale now. Thanks very much again for joining us today, Richard, and for taking us through all your toolings from 2024 and the new items that are already in development.
Thanks for having us.
And we have more coverage of all this online on keymodelworld.com, including the February British Railway announcements. Thank you again for watching today, and we'll see you next time.